My name is Laura Bauman, 24 years old. That night was supposed to be simple, a family gathering, full of laughter, noise, and the kind of warmth we only pretended to have once a year. It was my cousin Lily's 21st birthday, held at her parents' spacious home just outside town. The place glowed with fairy lights and chatter, every surface covered in pink streamers, and the smell of vanilla cake. For once, everyone seemed happy. My mom was fussing over table settings, my uncle was telling the same story for the third time, and Lily stood at the center of it all, radiant, her boyfriend Ryan beside her. They looked inseparable, hands intertwined, eyes soft with that easy, familiar love people envy. I almost believed the picture. Almost. Then Aunt Sarah arrived. At 46, newly divorced, and still the family's golden child, Sarah walked in as if the night belonged to her. She had that effortless confidence, her perfume cutting through the air like an announcement. My grandparents rushed to greet her first, showering her with compliments that made everyone else fade into the background. She basked in it, smiling graciously, the star returning to her loyal audience. When Sarah reached Lily and Ryan, I saw something that didn't fit. Her hug with him was different, too long, too intimate, the kind of hug that lingers because it means something you shouldn't feel. Ryan's face turned slightly red when they pulled apart, and Sarah's lips curved in a private smile. My stomach knotted, but I brushed it off. Maybe I was imagining it. The party rolled on. There was laughter, clinking glasses, endless photos. I tried to shake the uneasy feeling while snapping group pictures and nibbling on cheese cubes. Everyone looked so normal. Sarah's laugh echoed through the living room, like music she knew by heart. Always a little too loud, a little too perfect. When it was time to cut the cake, the family circled around Lily, singing with warmth that almost felt genuine. For a moment, the world stilled, Lily's face glowing in candlelight, her eyes shiny with tears. I remember thinking maybe tonight will stay good. Then Sarah approached me, holding out her phone. "Laura, sweetheart, could you take some photos for me? You're so much better at this than I am." I took her phone without thinking. Sure. She walked away to refill her wine. That's when it happened. A soft vibration in my hand, the screen lighting up with a message. "Ryan, I can't wait until the party's over." My breath hitched. I shouldn't have looked, but the message was right there, pulsing on the screen like a dare. My thumb hovered for a second, then tapped. Messages flooded open. Flirty texts, heart emojis, words that weren't meant for anyone else's eyes. "Last night was incredible. She won't suspect anything. You taste like trouble." My heart pounded in my ears. Every line blurred. No, no, no. There had to be another Ryan. There had to be some explanation. But deep down, I already knew. I lifted my head and found Sarah across the room. She was laughing, radiant, her hand lightly brushing Ryan's arm as she whispered something that made him grin. Every word in those messages suddenly made sense. I barely heard the noise around me as I kept clicking pictures, pretending nothing was wrong. Inside, something cracked. A few minutes later, Sarah called out across the room, "Ryan, could you help me bring Lily's gift from the car? It's heavy." Everyone smiled at her thoughtfulness. I froze. The words replayed in my mind, "I can't wait until the party's over." I followed them. Not too close, just enough to keep them in sight as they stepped outside. The night air hit cold against my skin. I hid near the edge of the patio lights. And then I saw it. Sarah leaned against her car, whispering something. Ryan laughed, looking around nervously. She reached up, touched his face, and kissed him. Not a mistake, not a slip, a long, hungry kiss that said everything. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook as I lifted the phone, still in my grip hers, and took a photo. The shutter sound felt deafening in the quiet. They didn't notice. They were too lost in each other. I stumbled back inside, heart pounding. The image burned into my mind. What now? Stay silent. Pretend no. Lily deserved the truth, no matter the fallout. When it was time to give gifts, I pulled her aside into the kitchen. My voice trembled. "Lily, I need to show you something." Her smile faded at my tone. I showed her the photo, the one I'd just taken. For a heartbeat, she didn't move. Then her hand went to her mouth. "Is this real?" I nodded. "I'm sorry, Lily. I wish I was wrong." Her face drained of color. Without a word, she stormed back into the living room. I followed, helpless. "How could you do this to me?" she shouted, her voice cracking. The room fell silent. Every head turned as she thrust the phone toward Sarah. "Explain this." Ryan froze. Sarah blinked, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about, sweetie?" Lily's voice shook with fury. You're my Aunt Sarah. You were kissing my boyfriend. Gasps rippled through the room. My grandmother clutched her pearls. Someone dropped a glass. Ryan tried to speak. It's not what it looks like. Lily cut him off. It's exactly what it looks like. Sarah's mask slipped, her tone sharpening. Lily, calm down. You're making a scene. Lily's eyes filled with tears. A scene. You've been sneaking around behind my back, and I'm the one embarrassing you. No one spoke. No one dared move. Finally, Ryan muttered, I think I should go. Lily's voice broke. Go where with her? He didn't answer, but when he turned toward the door, Sarah followed him. That silence, that tiny choice, said everything. The room fractured into whispers and disbelief as the door closed behind them. I stood frozen, guilt twisting inside me. I'd exposed the truth, but I'd also destroyed my cousin's birthday, her relationship, maybe the entire family's illusion of peace. As we drove home later, my mom said nothing. The headlights carved pale lines across her face, and I could feel her disappointment even in the silence. I stared out the window, heart still racing. I told myself I did the right thing. Lily deserved to know. But somewhere deep inside, a whisper echoed, You just set something in motion that can't be undone. The next morning, my phone was vibrating before the sun even rose. Our family group chat, usually a graveyard of birthday emojis and recipe links, was exploding. Dozens of unread messages. By the time I opened it, chaos had already taken root. Sarah is devastated. Lily lost control last night. Who gave Laura the right to start drama? My heart sank as I scrolled. Screens filled with accusations and pity. Somehow, the betrayal itself had become secondary. What mattered most now was that I had embarrassed the family. In the kitchen, the smell of burnt toast hung in the air. Mom stood at the counter, arms crossed. She called me, she said flatly. Sarah Mom nodded. She's saying you humiliated her in front of everyone. I set my mug down hard enough that coffee splashed onto the table. She humiliated herself, Mom. I just told the truth. Mom sighed, eyes tired. You could have waited until after the party. It was Lily's birthday, so she should have opened presents with a smile while her boyfriend was sneaking off to kiss her aunt, I snapped. You think that's better? She didn't reply. The silence between us stretched thin and brittle. Across town, Lily was spiraling. Her texts came in waves, grief, disbelief, fury. I didn't sleep at all. I keep seeing them together. How could she do that to me? I typed slowly. You're not to blame, Lily. They both made their choices. Minutes later, another text popped up. He messaged me. Ryan. Of course he did. I told her not to answer, but she sent me screenshots anyway. His tone was exactly what I expected, pathetic excuses dressed as apologies. It was just one mistake. She kissed me first. I didn't mean for it to happen. Classic, I muttered aloud. When I called Lily, her voice cracked between sobs and rage. One mistake, Laura. Do you know what kind of woman uses her own niece's boyfriend to feel better about her life? She's not a woman, I said softly. She's a parasite. She went quiet for a while before whispering. You did the right thing, you know. I'd rather find out this way than live a lie. But even if Lily believed that the rest of the family didn't. By afternoon, half my aunts and cousins had called Mom. Some wanted details. Others wanted to guilt-trip me into apologizing. The worst was Grandma. Her voice was sharp, trembling with righteous fury. Laura families don't air dirty laundry in public. Grandma. I said, gripping the phone tightly. Sarah wasn't airing anything. She was doing it in secret for who knows how long. She's going through a rough time. You should have shown compassion. Compassion, I laughed bitterly. She destroyed Lily's relationship, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for her. There was a pause, then the quiet click of her hanging up. That evening, my cousin Emma called. She'd always been the quiet observer of the family, the one who noticed things no one else did. I can't stop thinking about it, she said. Sarah and Ryan, it's disgusting. I know. But Laura, there's something else. Do you remember Christmas 2 years ago at Grandma's house? Yeah. I overheard Grandma talking to Sarah in the kitchen. I didn't think much of it then, but she said something strange, something like, he's better for you than for Lily anyway. My chest tightened. Wait, Grandma knew I don't know. Maybe she suspected, but Sarah just laughed and said, you always understand me best. For a moment, I couldn't speak. It felt like the floor had tilted under me. If that was true, this wasn't a mistake or a drunken lapse at a party. It was premeditated. A long game. I went silent long enough for Emma to ask, you okay? Yeah, I lied, just trying to wrap my head around it. That night, Lily texted again. I blocked them both. But it doesn't stop the noise. Everyone's picking sides. She sent a screenshot of Aunt Grace's comment in the chat. Sarah made a mistake. Don't ruin the family over it. Lily replied in the thread herself. The family was ruined the moment my aunt kissed my boyfriend. Silence after that. No one dared type another word. I sat in bed staring at my own phone, the blue light carving out my reflection in the dark. My face looked tired, older somehow. I kept wondering when truth became more offensive than betrayal. By midnight, I received one last message from Sarah herself. You think you're helping her, but all you did was destroy everything. I hope you're proud of yourself. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I typed back. If telling the truth destroys everything, maybe it wasn't worth saving. I hit send, turned off my phone, and lay there in the dark. But sleep never came. Because deep down I knew Emma was right. This betrayal didn't start last night. It had been living inside our family for years, hiding behind smiles and Sunday dinners. And now that I'd ripped it open, I wasn't sure any of us would survive what was coming next. The following week felt like living under a microscope. Every family member had an opinion, and most of them weren't kind. My phone barely stopped buzzing. Messages, calls, whispers. It was endless. I became the villain in a story that wasn't mine. The narrative had shifted. Sarah wasn't the one who betrayed her niece. No, according to half the family, I was the one who publicly humiliated her. It was surreal. The woman who'd kissed her own niece's boyfriend was being treated like the wounded party, while I, the one who told the truth, was the one tearing the family apart. Mom tried to keep this peace. They just need time to calm down, she said over breakfast, stirring sugar into her coffee like it was the only thing keeping her steady. Sarah's hurting. You know how close she and Grandma are. She's hurting because she got caught, I said, my voice low. Not because she's sorry. Mom flinched slightly. You sound so bitter, Laura. Bitter, I let out a small laugh. She wrecked Lily's life. And Grandma's calling her every day like she's the victim. How am I supposed to feel? Mom didn't answer, but the silence said enough. That afternoon, Grandma called me again. I almost didn't pick up, but I couldn't ignore her forever. Laura. She began, her tone sharp, but trying to sound composed. I've spoken to Sarah. She's very upset. You shouldn't have taken that photo. I clenched the phone tighter. So she's upset because I have proof. You humiliated her in front of everyone. A lady deserves privacy. Privacy, I repeated, incredulous. She was kissing Lily's boyfriend in the backyard of a crowded house. Privacy left the chat. She tutted softly as if I were a child who didn't understand life. You're young, Laura. You don't understand what loneliness can do to a person. And you don't understand what betrayal does, I snapped. For a moment there was silence, then a sigh. Sarah has always looked after this family. Don't throw her away over one mistake. The word mistake stuck in my throat like a splinter. I ended the call before she could say more. My hands trembled with anger, not just at Sarah, but at the generations who kept excusing her. She was the golden child, untouchable, always forgiven. A few days later, we had a family dinner, an awkward, half-empty one. Grandma had convinced Mom to host, hoping to restore peace. It was a disaster from the first minute. Only half the chairs were filled. Lily's parents refused to come. Ryan obviously was nowhere to be seen. Sarah wasn't invited, but her shadow hung over every conversation. Uncle Peter poured himself a drink and muttered, Sometimes it's better to leave these things alone. I turned toward him slowly. Leave what alone? He shrugged. People make mistakes. It's not our place to judge. I leaned forward. If someone had done that to your daughter, would you still call it a mistake? He didn't answer, just stared into his glass. The table went quiet. The only sound was the faint clink of silverware. Grandma cleared her throat. We just need to forgive and move on. I looked at her directly. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. Her lips tightened. You've changed, Laura. Maybe I've just stopped pretending, I replied. The rest of the dinner dragged on in suffocating silence. Later that night, I went for a walk to clear my head. The air was heavy with the smell of rain. My phone buzzed. It was Emma again. I just talked to one of Sarah's old friends, she said, her voice low. You won't believe this. Apparently Sarah and Ryan didn't just start a few months ago. They've been meeting up for years. She used to brag that he was different, someone who listened, who understood her. My heart sank. Years. Yeah. 2, maybe 3. And get this, she used family events as cover. The Christmas party, that weekend trip at the lake house, even Lily's graduation. I stopped walking. The rain started soft at first. It all clicked, the way Sarah used to hover near Ryan at gatherings, the strange excuses, the knowing looks. It wasn't new. It had been happening right under our noses. I think Grandma knew, I said quietly. Emma exhaled. Honestly, me too. The next day, Sarah's damage control tour began in full force. She called cousins, aunts, and even family friends crying on the phone. I was in a dark place, she sobbed to one of them. My divorce broke me. Ryan was kind. Things just happened. Every word dripped with self-pity. I heard it all secondhand. Our family's gossip network was faster than the news. Lily texted me late that night. She called my mom begging to meet. Mom said no. She's done. But Grandma's still defending her. I typed back, let her defend her favorite. It's what she's always done. Lily didn't reply, but I could picture her expression, tired, hollow. The kind of hurt that turns into numbness. The next morning, I ran into Ethan Lily's brother at a coffee shop. He looked furious. Guess who I saw at the gym, he said. Ryan. Yeah. I confronted him. He tried to say Sarah manipulated him. I rolled my eyes. Right. Because 3 years of sneaking around is something that just happens. He's pathetic, Ethan spat. I told him to stay the hell away from our family. We sat there in silence for a while, both staring out the window at people going about their ordinary lives. I envied them. For them, betrayal was just a word. That night, as I scrolled through old photos of happier days, Lily laughing, Sarah smiling Ryan's arm around her shoulder, I felt a strange ache. I once admired Sarah. She was confident, radiant, always in control. I thought she was everything I wanted to become: strong, independent, fearless. Now I realized she wasn't fearless. She was reckless. And everyone around her kept mistaking one for the other. Emma texted again before bed. Do you think there's more to this than we know? I stared at her message for a while before replying. Yes, and I think I'm about to find out how deep it goes. Because if Sarah could lie for years, and Grandma could protect her all along, then the affair wasn't just a secret, it was a symptom of something rotten that had been festering in our family for decades. And I wasn't done digging. It was a gray afternoon when she came. I remember the knock clearly, 3 slow taps, the kind that hesitate before committing. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity, or maybe morbid instinct, made me open the door. Sarah stood there, hair disheveled, eyes rimmed with red. The confident, untouchable aunt I'd known my whole life was gone. In her place was a woman who looked hollow. Can we talk? She asked softly. Her voice trembled like a cracked instrument. I stared at her for a long second before stepping aside. 5 minutes. She nodded, walking in like someone approaching an altar. The air between us felt charged like static before a storm. She sat on the couch, clutching her purse with both hands. I know you hate me, she began. But I need you to understand, none of this was supposed to happen. I folded my arms. Then help me out, Sarah. Explain how you accidentally have an affair with your niece's boyfriend for 3 years. Her lips parted, trembling. It wasn't like that. I was in such a bad place. The divorce, the loneliness, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Ryan, he just listened. He saw me. I let out a bitter laugh. He saw you all right, and apparently the rest of the family did too. Sarah flinched, but pressed on. You think I'm proud of what happened? I'm not. I hate myself for it. Do you? I asked quietly. Because every time I hear about your calls, you're not apologizing. You're making excuses. Tears started spilling down her cheeks. You don't understand what it's like to feel invisible, to have your whole life collapse and no one notice. I felt my jaw tighten. Plenty of us have felt invisible, Sarah. We didn't destroy someone else's life over it. She looked up at me, then eyes desperate. I lost everything. The family hates me. Lily hates me. Ryan, he's gone. I'm completely alone. Good, I said flatly. Maybe now you'll understand what loneliness really feels like. For a second, her expression cracked open into pure rage. You don't mean that. You've always been like a niece to me. I laughed, sharp and humorless. If that's how you treat nieces, I'd hate to see how you treat enemies. Her voice rose, suddenly brittle with emotion. I was broken, Laura, and Ryan. He was kind to me when no one else was. It just got complicated. Complicated, I repeated, stepping closer. That's what you call 3 years of sneaking around. You planned family gatherings around your affair. You hugged him in front of your niece. You kissed him at her birthday party. That's not complicated, Sarah. That's calculated. Her hands started shaking. She pressed them to her face, sobbing. You don't understand. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You keep saying that, I said coldly. You didn't mean to, but you did it anyway. She dropped her hands, her eyes red and glistening. I came here because I need someone to believe that I'm not a bad person. I stared at her for a long moment, then spoke quietly. You don't get to decide that anymore. Your actions already did. She tried one last tactic, guilt. The family's falling apart because of this. Grandma cries every night. She says you've turned everyone against me. I almost laughed, but it came out bitter. Grandma's crying because she can't keep pretending you're perfect. She's been protecting you your whole life, Sarah. Maybe now she finally sees the damage that caused. Sarah's expression hardened. Her voice lost its trembling softness. You think you're better than me. You've never made a mistake. I met her gaze. Not this kind. Something in her face twisted like the truth had just hit her where it hurt most. Lily isn't innocent either, she snapped suddenly. She and Ryan had problems for years. Maybe if she'd been a better girlfriend, he wouldn't have looked for comfort elsewhere. That did it. Get out, I said. My voice was low but steady. What? Get out of my apartment. She stood slowly, tears starting again, the performance rebooting. Laura, please. I didn't mean. I pointed to the door. You spent this entire conversation blaming everyone but yourself. You betrayed your niece, your family, and now you want sympathy? No. Go fix your mess somewhere else. Her shoulders slumped as she moved toward the door. You'll regret this one day, she muttered. Families forgive, Laura. You'll see. When the door closed, I stood still, my heart pounding. The air smelled faintly of her perfume, a scent that suddenly made me sick. Then I saw it. A scarf draped over the back of the couch. She must have dropped it when she was crying. I picked it up to toss it toward the door, but something small slipped out of her purse as I did. A folded photo. I froze. It was a picture of Sarah and Ryan at the old family cabin, the same one we used to visit for summer reunions. They were sitting close together, smiling the way lovers do when they think no one's watching. I flipped it over. There was a date scrawled on the back in Sarah's looping handwriting. August 12th, our secret escape. 3 years ago. My hands went cold. It wasn't just an affair that happened in moments of weakness. It had been planned, nurtured, hidden inside the very heart of our family traditions. She'd been lying long before Lily ever knew. And Grandma must have known something. That Christmas conversation Emma overheard wasn't casual gossip. It was permission. As I stared at the photo, a quiet, burning certainty filled me. Sarah's tears, her apologies, her guilt. It was all a performance. She didn't come here to confess. She came to make sure I stayed silent. But it was too late for that. I slipped the photo into a drawer and whispered to the empty room. You wanted someone to believe you, Sarah. I believe you. I just don't forgive you. Outside, the rain began to fall harder, steady, relentless, like the truth washing away the last traces of her lies. Months passed, but the fallout never truly settled. Even silence had an echo now. Every family gathering, every phone call carried an invisible tremor, as if the ground beneath us still hadn't stopped shifting since the night of Lily's birthday. Lily had moved out of her parents' house. She found a small apartment across town, barely furnished, always smelling faintly of paint and coffee. She told me she wanted to start over somewhere that didn't feel like a crime scene. I helped her unpack boxes one weekend. The walls were bare. Her laughter was quieter than before, but there was a calm in her voice that hadn't existed for months. I thought I'd miss them, she said, folding an old photo frame face down into a drawer. But I don't. Not Sarah, not Ryan, not anyone who defended them. She'd started therapy too. Every session was like peeling off an old layer of her own skin, painful but necessary. I realized something she said one evening staring out the window. It's not just about what they did. It's about how everyone tried to make it my fault for reacting. I nodded. They can't handle seeing someone break the illusion. It's easier to call you emotional than admit they enabled a liar. Her eyes glistened. You really think Grandma knew? I hesitated. Then I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo I'd found in Sarah's purse, the one at the cabin. Lily's hands trembled as she took it. This was 3 years ago. Yeah, I said quietly. It wasn't a mistake, Lily. It was a pattern. She stared at the photo for a long time. She's smiling, she whispered. Like she's proud of it. She probably was. Lily set the picture down and exhaled slowly. Then I guess she got what she wanted. Him. And the silence she always demanded. But she didn't get peace, I said. And neither did Grandma. A few weeks later, I visited Grandma for the first time since the fallout. Her house felt smaller somehow, like the air had been drained out of it. Framed family photos still lined the shelves, but a few were missing Lily's graduation picture the group shot from last year's reunion. Gone. She sat in her armchair, knitting slowly, her eyes avoiding mine. You came, she said finally, her tone cautious. I did. I sat across from her. You stopped calling. She sighed, setting down her knitting needles. It's been hard. The family's fractured. Because of Sarah, I said. Because of how everything came out, she corrected. I stared at her. You knew, didn't you, about them? Her jaw tightened. I suspected. I hoped I was wrong. Why didn't you say anything? Her eyes flashed with something between shame and defiance. Because I thought she'd stop. She's been through so much. I didn't want to lose her. You lost her anyway, I said softly. You just lost everyone else with her. She looked away, her voice trembling. You don't understand, Laura. When you're my age, keeping the peace matters more than being right. No, I said. You kept your peace, not the family's. The words hung there, sharp and unmovable. She didn't reply. And for the first time in my life, I realized how loneliness can hide behind righteousness. When I left, she didn't walk me to the door. By late summer, Sarah had vanished from everyone's lives. No social media, no phone calls. Rumor had it she'd moved to another city, maybe trying to start over somewhere she wasn't hated. Even her defenders grew silent. Without her voice crying victim, there was nothing left to defend. Ryan, on the other hand, tried to reappear. He sent Lillian email pages of it saying how sorry he was, how Sarah took advantage of him, how he'd never stopped loving her. She read it once, then deleted it. He's just rewriting history, she said calmly. That's all people like him do. Life began to settle in strange, uneven rhythms. The first family gathering, without Sarah, felt like a house missing, a wall. Drafty, fragile, but open in a way it had never been. No one mentioned her, but her absence filled every silence. Mom reached for my hand during dinner. You did the right thing, she said quietly, as if she were only realizing it now. I didn't do it for right or wrong, I replied. I did it because I couldn't stand the lie anymore. Weeks later, Lily and I met at a small cafe on a rainy evening. She looked different, lighter somehow. Her hair shorter, her smile real. We talked about work plans, little things. For the first time in a long while, the conversation wasn't heavy. Then she reached into her purse and slid a small photo across the table, her and me, from the night of her 18th birthday. I found this when I was unpacking, she said. I thought I'd lost it. I smiled faintly. You kept it all these years. She nodded. You've always had my back, even when it cost you. The rain outside blurred the streetlights, casting gold ripples across the window. Would you do it again? She asked suddenly. Expose them, I mean, if you knew how it would end. I thought about it for a long time. About Sarah's tears, Grandma's disappointment, the way truth had burned through our family like wildfire. Yes, I said finally, because sometimes the only way to save what's left is to let it burn. Lily smiled sadly. Then I guess we survived the fire. Later that night, as I walked home under the drizzle, I passed by our old family house, the one where birthdays, Christmases, and secrets had once lived. Through the window, the lights were off. The place looked abandoned, quiet, stripped of the laughter that used to spill from its walls. I stood there for a long moment thinking about everything that had happened. Truth doesn't fix things. It doesn't heal families or erase betrayal. It just reveals what's been hiding like floodlight over decay. But sometimes that's enough. Because lies might keep people together, but only truth lets them breathe. I turned away from the empty house, pulled my coat tighter, and walked into the rain. For the first time in months, I felt clean.